All right, everybody, I'm here today with Oonagh English. Okay, we actually met a little over a year ago when she became my client. And at the time, this was during like when the pandemic kind of just started. She was making around anywhere from 100 to maybe up to 500 euros a month. But like she said, she felt like she was kind of breaking even for the most part. It wasn't an actual income for her, to where now she actually hit her first 10K month back in June, which is absolutely phenomenal. I'm super excited to have Oonagh here. Okay, in addition to that, another really great thing about Oonagh is she's actually a GYI, so Grow Your Impact team member. She's actually our community success manager now too. So she works under me. She helps me better support student success in the group. She's really amazing. And so I'm super excited to talk with her today because she's going to talk about what she changed in her business and how she's kind of grown. I mean, I remember when we first met, I felt like you've grown so much as a person, now Oonagh. It's pretty incredible to kind of see your transformation. So we're going to hear about what she changed in her business so that you're able to better apply it to your business so that you can get better results in your business too. But I thought it would be good, Oonagh, is if we could first start with, can you kind of give us a bit of a description about your niche? Right? That'd be great.
Sure. Thanks for the intro. So I'm a life coach and nutritional therapist, and I essentially help high achievers who struggle with stress and anxiety. So typically the types of people I work with are people who work with high pace, high stress jobs. So things like engineers or accountants, or even parents who are also working. So people who have a lot going on. And essentially what I do is I teach them sustainable solutions for stress and anxiety so that they can achieve their dreams without compromising their physical and emotional health. And I do that with combining nutrition, meditation, because I'm also a meditation instructor, and basically what I call mindset transformation coaching. But essentially that's just, you ask some great questions and then people find the answer within. That's essentially
I love it. That's awesome, Oonagh. That's so great. Why don't we start with two? I think it would be helpful to hear from your perspective. I know I did a little summary, but I felt like it would still be helpful. When we met, right? Kind of what stage were you at with your business? Can you give us a little bit more insight into what that looked like for you?
Sure. So when we started working together, I was actually doing a master's full time.
Oh,
So
yeah.
I was only working past part time on my business. And actually, the master's I was doing at the time was focusing on personalized nutrition. So it's kind of, yeah, it was quite sciencey. I don't know what a better word for it is. And essentially, it was really what I wanted to do. But I kind of been peer pressured by society and by my own mind to kind of think that that's the
Mm.
avenue that I needed to follow. I thought I needed to be like Dr. Oonagh in order to have like any kind of credence behind what I was doing.
Yeah.
Uh, so yeah, when we started working together, it was kind of like, well, I really want to kind of support myself, because at the time my partner had just kind of been laid off because of the pandemic, and I was like, well, I have to make this happen, otherwise I'm going to have to get a job in a supermarket or something to just pay the bills. So that's kind of where I was at. I was really at a
Right.
point where I was kind of desperate, and I remember we got on the call and I was kind of like, oh, like this is like a big thing, like it's an investment, it's gonna, and I was
Right.
really kind of like, should I do this? And then I remember like lying in bed next to my husband, and then he was like, well, what's the worst that could happen? And I was
I
like,
love
oh
it.
yeah, true, what is
Yeah.
the worst that could happen? Right? And then so then I went for it, and I mean that pretty much like honestly changed my life in so many ways. But yeah, I mean, where I started was I pretty much had no business. And also I had no way of like scaling what I was doing. And I felt really overwhelmed because my master's
Mm.
was like 50 hours a week or something. I don't, yeah, something like that.
Right. Yeah,
And
you
then on
had
top of
so
things
much.
like,
Yeah. It was
how
a
do I even
lot
do that?
trying to figure out how to manage that, and you needed to have an income from your business that worked for you, but you can't also work 50 hours a week. Well, I guess you could. That's a lot though. In your business, right? While also doing that. That would be a ton of work, right? And I think too, I remember when we met because you were kind of nervous about investing in yourself and investing in your business, which is 100% understandable, especially whenever you're doing it the first time. It always feels crazy scary, right? And I think we even found out that we had like a similar kind of background, even though you're in Ireland, right? And I grew up in like Tennessee in the US, which was also really cool. But I think that what you kind of recognized and thought to yourself is instead of thinking, um, oh, everything's going to go wrong, you're like, well, what really could go wrong? Right? Which was kind of like your first attitude shift about things. I like it. So, to get to where you are today, because the other thing about Oonagh, I forgot to mention this earlier, is she actually runs this coaching business and she also has Bienetra as well, which is another company that she co-owns, I believe, with another woman who's great, right? What would you say that are three things, like from that starting point of where you first started, what are three things that you changed that allowed you to get to that, get to your first 10K month, right? As well as, being able to run both of those businesses simultaneously as well. And kind of, the level of success you've achieved now from where you first started.
Yeah, so I think a big thing was kind of like asking myself that question, whenever I had a lot of fear, because I've struggled with anxiety for like my whole life. Obviously, that's why I'm interested in this niche, right? Because I am my niche. So, yeah.
I like it.
So from that, really kind of asking myself always, what is actually the worst thing that could happen? And are my fears real? And then do I choose this to be my identity going forward? So, I was like really afraid to go into business with my best friend and start Bienetra, even though, I thought it was a great idea and it could really grow to something. I had this fear of, if I go into business with my best friend, then that's going to mess up our friendship. It's going to fail, and that literally for like 6 to 8 months, like stopped me from being involved with it. And then at some point I just decided, you know what, like maybe that will happen, but what if it doesn't happen? What if it actually works out?
Yeah.
What if I succeed? And then I
right.
realized that like
yeah.
success is worth a lot more than, okay, I've been through so much in my life. Like, is this really going to impact our friendship that much if the business fails? And then also if the business does fail, that doesn't mean I failed my whole life. Because I think sometimes we have this concept of failure where it's like, if this business fails, then I'm a failure and that's it.
And then I should never do business ever again. And then like, what are people going to think of me? Right?
Yeah, exactly.
Because I'm a big fat failure. I remember those thoughts used to run through my head too, right? That's why I didn't tell people I was running a business to begin with, because I was like, people are going to be like, this girl doesn't know what she's doing, right? But
so I think just breaking free from those fears was a really big thing. And then the other thing was just like learning what I was good at and what I wasn't good at, and learning how to delegate things, and learning like what ideas to pursue and what to not. Because sometimes like when you're running, like, because I run 2 businesses and then I also work with you, right?
Yeah.
So like my week is pretty full. Like I don't have a lot of time to just waste on crap, right? So I have to really decide, okay, what is actually worth my time and what isn't worth my time. And that includes actual business opportunities as well, or even, sometimes.
And ideas too.
Yeah.
Yeah. Because I remember, because you have a very kind of like visionary personality too, to yourself, right? Which I totally get. I tend to too, where you're like, wow, look at all the different possibilities of everything I could do, right? And this is a beautiful gift to have, because it's just like, this is the land of opportunity, everybody, right? Because you just keep thinking of other ideas and you're like, what if I did this? And then I also did this. But excuse me. I had to put my phone on silent. But the big thing that I've learned, and I know we even talked about too with you, is even though you had all these great ideas, we had to focus on what were the main things so that you didn't get distracted. Because having key main things is what allows you to progress faster, rather than trying to split your energy into a million different things that you feel like might work out, right? Is that what you would say too?
Yeah, 100%. 100%. I mean, I think just being distracted, because it's really easy to get distracted by something that's shiny,
Yep.
And I think like that's another thing that I would really kind of recommend for people growing their business is it's really easy to kind of go, oh, this is what Jane is doing. I'm going to just do what Jane is doing. Oh, this person has this many followers. I'm going to suddenly decide to copy this person. Or,
Yeah.
oh, I'm going to do this or that. And then you're like employing all these different strategies. And then
Mm-hmm.
all of a sudden you're not doing anything fully. And I think like really, to
Bingo.
succeed, you need to be consistent and you have to give something like an actual go. Otherwise, it's just
Yeah.
you're not doing anything really, and then you're actually stuck. And I found like sometimes like people get stuck in that place for months, like or even years.
Right. Right. It's so true. It's so easy to, oh, it seems like everybody else is having success in this. So that means I need to do that too. Right?
Mm-hmm.
Or you'll kind of tiptoe towards something and then you're like, oh, maybe I'll come back and I'll tiptoe towards this thing instead of consistently going towards one thing day after day. Right? I love it. What's the third thing?
Oh, so yeah, third thing, I mean, I think the first thing was the fear. The
Mm-hmm.
second thing was like learning about like just managing my time. That was definitely the second thing.
Oh, okay. Okay. Yeah.
Yeah. And then the third thing is about, I think not comparing is really a big thing. And
Mm-hmm.
then the fourth thing, I'm gonna add one more thing,
Okay.
but
Okay, go.
actually just taking days off, like
Mm-hmm.
just taking a day off. Because I remember when I started with Grow Your Impact, I was like, yeah, I'm just gonna do everything and just like not sleep. Bad idea. Bad idea. Because then, if I'm trying to help people like with overwhelm and like stress and anxiety and burnout, and I get on the phone and I have like these massive raccoon eyes and like massive legs, and I'm like, "Hey, I can help you." Like, no, no, not on brand. So, so that is, I think, definitely, taking days off. Honestly, it makes you so much more productive. Like, and you get so
Right.
much more.
Right.
So
And
just
I know that I've done this too sometimes where you get so, which you do have to have discipline. You do have to have focus, right? And there are some things that you're going to have to give up in order to prioritize your business to make it happen, right? But that should never be sleep, okay? People, your health, and like you said, you should prioritize just taking off a day. Everybody should take off a day, right? Well, what would you say kind of next? So, two questions, right? One, where do you see yourself in the future with this business, right? What would you like it to be in the future? And then, what's one piece of advice that you give people who are just getting started, right? Or maybe they have started their business, but they're feeling a little stuck at the moment.
Mhm, mhm. So I think in terms of where I want to go,
Mm-hmm.
I'm really looking at like focusing mainly on Bien-Être, like long term, because that's really like a brand that I'm building. I'm kind of employing like what I learned, everything that I learned from you, and kind of applying it to that.
Yeah.
And that's kind of the direction that I'm slowly moving in. And maybe like long term, like I will still have some clients, but it would be like a few, like it wouldn't be a full-time thing. Because what I found personally, just for myself, is, and this is like one of the reasons actually why I wanted to
Yeah.
work with Natalie as well, is because I just find like I don't like working alone. I like to work in a team with other people.
Yeah.
And like I said, like I literally built my business to like 10K, which was like more than I ever could have imagined would be like possible for me. From where I started, I realized like deep down, I was like, actually, I really want to work with other people and work in a team and grow something that's like bigger than myself,
Yeah.
that's bigger than just me. So that
Mm-hmm.
was that was something that I kind of realized over the last year, and I think really made a shift in my focus. And then I think to your second question about what to do when you're feeling stuck. I think something that actually you said in one of your videos, Natalie, is something that I kind of like really, really kind of touched me, which is
Mm.
not to allow yourself to identify with, how many sales calls you're getting, how much money is in your bank account, how much success you have or don't have.
Yeah.
Like really not to let that be your identity, and kind of learning to really love yourself and being kind to yourself.
Yeah.
Because it's really, really easy to get caught up, especially in like an ego trip, if you are like being successful, which at some point, we are, like, we're earning a lot of money, we
Mm-hmm.
have a lot of people praising us,
Yep.
and then other times you might get a load of nasty comments on one of your photos or something, or
Right.
maybe you get a load of no's. And if you let that drag you down, you won't succeed. You will fail because
Exactly.
you're allowing that to kind of be your identity. But your identity is not like your business. That is
Yes.
your business is kind of defined by how you are and not the other way around, right? So I
Mm-hmm.
think for me that was like, whoa, mind blown. So yeah, that really helped me.
I like it.
So thank
No,
you
but
so
I'm
much.
so happy you brought this up because the thing is it doesn't mean that we can't have big goals, right? Like I'm sure you've got big goals for being Etra. You have big goals for a lot of things, right? It doesn't mean that suddenly, and I also like to say, it doesn't mean that because I'm not going to make my identity around what I'm making per month, it doesn't mean that I'm suddenly going to become a monk, right? And I don't like think that like I don't want to make money and like suddenly that's my thing, right? Instead, I think what happens, and this is why people go on such an emotional roller coaster, and this is what I recognize with myself, because I used to go on major emotional roller coasters where it's like when everything's going great, you feel great. And when everything's going wrong, you feel like hell, right? But when we recognize, like you're saying, that you are not tied to like your likes, the amount of sales calls you're getting, it's not you. Like these extraneous things aren't you. And I think that helps with oh, now I don't feel at a high whenever things seem to be going well, and now I feel at a really low when things are going really low. Right? And instead, Oonagh's great because Oonagh's Oonagh. Right? And I think everybody needs that in their life. They need to you're great because of who you are, not because of what you do. Right? Doesn't mean you can't want to help people, but you can't start saying, oh, like you were saying, which I think is so great. So thank you for that, Oonagh. I so appreciate you getting on here on this interview with me, speaking with me. I know this is going to be super helpful for a lot of people.
Thank you.